Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a brand new day. Welcome to a beautiful Wednesday. Here in the Enchanted Forest, we are getting ready for the arrival of Amantha Murphy, who is coming to us from Killarney, Ireland, for a weekend of Level 2 Ancient Irish Shamanism. And so I'm a little bit late getting to the studio this morning because I was out with the good folks from Plumber Septic taking care of our bathroom situation for the next 5 days up at the School of Sacred Studies. But a shout out to everybody there at Plumbers in Grand Rapids. They do an amazing job and always friendly people. So I was right in the middle of a great conversation and realized I was conversing a little bit too long. I needed to get back here to the studio. But good morning, everybody. It's great to have you with me. The chat room is open, so please do come on in. Good morning, Katie Battle. It's great to have you in the chat this morning. Today we're going to be talking about the veil between the worlds. And what does it veil? You know, what is that veil? Is there literally a veil? Are some people born with a veil? Right? There are those that believe that sometimes children are born with what's known as a veil across their face, a marking of spiritual gifts and talents. We might call them empathic or seers or sensitives, right? A sign of that. And we're going to be talking about that. So come on into the chat room, wherever you happen to be. Spreaker, thank you to everybody at Spreaker. Spreaker is our radio show publisher, if you will. And they are the good folks who distribute all of the shows from the Temple Within Radio and Media all over the globe. And you can now find our shows on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Deezer. The list goes on and on, soon on iHeartRadio. And I just want to thank everybody at Spreaker for all that they do to help promote all of the work that goes on here at the Temple Within, and to all of those outlets that have reviewed all of our shows, had a listen over the many months, and said, yeah, we want this as part of our platform. So I feel really great about all of that. And Spotify, thank you to the good folks at Spotify. Well, we all know that October is the month of Halloween. I find it really interesting that Halloween is quickly beginning to surpass in festivities and preparations Christmas festivities. I find that fascinating for a lot of reasons because of the implications and the history of Halloween. And of course, in our own way in Catholicism, you all know that I grew up Catholic, we celebrated All Hallows with All Saints Day and All Souls Day. So we just kind of switched up the wording there a little bit around the time of Samhain. All Souls Day, All Saints Day, the day that those who have gone on come closer to us. The Day of the Dead is celebrated by many in this country and other countries. Samhain is celebrated around the world in its various names. A drawing closer of those who have crossed over and those who we love, who were part of family, blood family and family of choice, and friends. And in all of those traditions, there's talk about the veil. This veil that gets thin, the veil that separates us between the non-physical realms, right? That's there somewhere. And what is the veil? I'm just putting a note in the chat room at Exploring Sacred. Thank you all for liking Exploring Sacred. There on Facebook. Hey, Lady Hawk. That veil literally is a vibration. Sandy Herrick might call it an octave. The vibration that separates the physical from the non-physical world for many people. For people such as myself and others like me who are seers, who are sensitives, the veil is always very, very thin. And there are times for us, even in the thinning of the veil being a permanent part and parcel of who we are, when the veil or the octave is thinner. Part of the reason for that actually is the fact that here in the Western hemisphere, or the Northern Hemisphere, we are experiencing the longer times of evening, right? The days are getting shorter. The times of darkness are getting longer. It's a time of introspection. It's a time of darkening, a time of going within. In the sacred hoop, the Changleshka, we're coming into the time of the season of the north. So we're between the west and the north. The west is the realm of the ancestors, and we're working our way toward the direction of the north, the direction of winter. So ancestors, the visiting of the ancestors from all regions, but today we're just going to talk about those that we love. Hey, good morning, Angie. The veil becomes thin in the evening when we go to bed at night, right? We know that. People will say, well, why do I have visitations while I'm dreaming, while I'm supposed to be sleeping? Why is it happening then? Well, two things are happening. Your body is at rest. Your body is at rest, and it's dark, right? In other words, there aren't a lot of things to distract your attention from the realm of spirit. So that veil sometimes represents distractions that are seen in the light. The distraction of hurrying around, of getting one more chore done before sundown hits. You know what I'm talking about? I'm one of those people. If I can get one more plant planted, if I can get one more garden weeded, I'm going to do that. That is in my nature. If I can get one more horse, right, groomed, brushed, taken care of before sun goes down, I'm on it. And after sun goes down is the time of rest, the time of contemplation, unless you're hooked into TV or video or any of those kind of things. The darkness allows us to see, because in the darkness is typically when we are relaxed, when we're not thinking about milking another cow, when we're not thinking about things outside of our hearth and our home. We settle in. This is the season of settling in, of settling down in, going in. And in our settling down and in our going in, we draw to us the things of our psyche, the things of our soul, the things of our spirit, including those that we love who have gone home to spirit. We begin to think about them more, don't we? I believe we do at this time of the year. We're approaching the time of the holy days, the holidays, we call them here in America. The holy days, those holy times of autumn and winter. When we begin to think about family, when we begin to think about our life and celebration and memories and ancestors, traditions. And in all of that, we begin to commune on the subtle levels. Oh, thank you for that, Katie. I'm glad I answered your question there. Great question. Good morning, Cousin Corey. Good morning. We're coming into the time, as Amantha calls it, of betwixt and between, where the dark time is much longer than the time of light. When we begin to dial into our memories, into our coulda, woulda, shouldas, and into, oh my goodness, remember whens. I believe that the veil thins for everyone, but I believe also, or I know also, that the veil begins to thin more quickly. There is a quickening for those who take the time to go within, to sit, to light a candle, to be with the memories, to process the memories. This is the time of harvest. This is the time of harvest. And what are we harvesting at this time? Well, we harvest crops. Here in West Michigan, we harvest a lot of cherries and apples and all sorts of corn and those good kinds of things. But there's also another harvest that goes on in the subtle realms. What have we harvested in these past seasons of spring and summer? What have we harvested in our soul? What have we harvested in our family? What have we harvested for memories, friendships, wellness, our spiritual path? What have those things harvested? What's been uncovered? What's been revealed in the summer? What have we gathered to us? Well, it's a time of gathering all of those things. And in that gathering, in those thoughts of what we've gathered or what we wish we would have gathered or could have gathered, there's another gathering. Every thought that we think, every feeling that we emit, draws to us from the other side of the veil. That octave, that vibration, where physicality is no longer required to experience life here on earth. Human life requires a physicality. And when our human life is concluded, our physicality, this body, this bones and muscles and all that is required is no longer needed, and we're in spirit form. So we've ramped it up to a subtle octave, a higher vibration. And as those we love still on this side of the veil begin to think of us, begin to think of the memories, begin to process what has been, the traditions, preparing for the traditions, and the conversations turn to Grandma and Grandpa, and this is the way that they did it. This is the way Auntie did it. This is the way Uncle did it. This is the way my brother, my husband, my wife did it. Those thoughts emit a vibration of love that draws those on the other side closer. We respond to that. This is the time of the year typically also where you might get a random phone call from someone who's just thinking about us. Or maybe you're expecting that phone call. You know the phone is going to ring because you've been thinking of them. It's a time of openness. It's a time of deep thought. It's a time of deep sorrow for some. The minute that the Christmas ornaments are already on the shelves at in some stores begins a time of sadness for some people. And that sadness can draw nearer those that we love who have gone home. And simultaneously, for others to see the Christmas ornaments on the shelves and the Halloween preparations and the Day of the Dead festivity decorations on the shelves brings great joy, anticipation of preparation, and in the anticipation, in the joy of remembering and preparing, those that we love who have gone home are drawn to us in that manner as well. During the holy days, we all exude a particular light. It's a thoughtful light for those that take care to mind their thoughts, that are thoughtful about their thoughts. What thoughts are you projecting? What memories do you keep remembering? If we focus solely on the sad memories, the regretful memories, the anxious memories, right? This is an opportunity at this time of the year to let those go. Right? Take a look at the falling leaves. It's a wonderful meditation to watch a tree let go of its leaves and to meditate upon all of those things that you're willing to let go of, that you need to let go of, and that you're ready to let go of, in order that your vibration, your aura, your octave, your thoughts, your contemplations become that of a higher vibration. And in the higher vibration, the veil thins. It's a two-way street. The universe provides us with longer nights and shorter days, more time for contemplation. We participate in the thinning of the veil by thinning the veils that shroud us. What veils currently shroud you? Are they veils of regret, anger, anxiety, illness, sadness, resentment? We can wear a lot of veils that prevent us from connecting more fully to our soul, our higher self, those that we love on the other side, our guardian angels, allies, spirit guides, totems. We have a whole cadre of spiritual partners on the other side. An entire cadre of them. Saints, right? Growing up Catholic, I was taught immediately, as far back as I can remember, about spirit guides that were simply called saints. And there's a spirit guide or a saint for everything. When we're shrouded in heavy energies, when we're veiled in heavy energies, connection to the spiritual realm is difficult. It's difficult. We need to remember that likes attract. That's where it gets kind of tricky sometimes. If we are veiled with joy, if we can find the beauty, if we can wear that joy in the beauty of our experiences, that's also a veil of joy, a veil of happiness, a veil of positivity, a veil of courage. Some of the most courageous people I know have lived lives that I can't even imagine living. I don't know how they managed to get through it. And yet they're veiled in joy. And it's that veil that attracts from the other side of the veil, as we call it, a beautiful connection, unencumbered by things of the mind, things that we're consumed with in our material world. That's also part of the veil. The parting of the veil. If you want to have a really great parted veil, don't be so attached to your things. We can be so consumed in thoughts of our things, that thoughts of spirit, of our soul, of connecting to the other side is diminished because we're shrouded in materialism. Hey, Nikki. Good to see you. Yeah, she's saying, I know my intuition is super heightened right now. I've been getting nudges from spirit often. Yes. It's the beginning of the holy days. Beginning with Halloween, All Hallows. All Hallows. Learned a lot about that on the trip to Ireland this time with Amantha Murphy. Going to the Cave of the Cats. The birthplace of Halloween. That was magnificent. What was more magnificent? Todd was drumming. He was doing the sacred drumming, so our dear Rose Mummery got a break. And Amantha was leading us in contemplation and meditation. And as Todd was drumming, of course, as we sat at the mouth of the cave, a black cat showed up. You can't even make those things up. And all 14 of us, sat in this magnificent farmer's field in front of the cave, drumming, meditating, contemplating, drawing in the ancestors, the blood of our blood and the bones of our bones. And what happened? A black cat appeared, and it leapt over several that were lying in the field meditating. It leapt over Amantha's head and perched itself in the tree at the entrance of the cave. And it watched us all. A classic example of the thinning of the veil by meditation, contemplation, drumming, setting sacred space. Setting sacred space thins the veil, but what are you thinning the veil to? Right? Setting a sacred space helps to guarantee that you're not just inviting any hobgoblin into your space, into your home, into your dream time or meditation time. And those are the classes that are taught at the School of Sacred Studies, of course. And many of you are students, webinar students, or students of the school in its physical form. We teach those things because what lies beyond the veil is very real, just as real, and in fact more real in my mind than what we're experiencing in our physicality. Because on the other side, they're unencumbered by physicality and having a human experience. They're experiencing the all that is to experience. Here we're getting glimpses of it, remembrances of it at this time. Those nudges happen for those that take time. Nikki, she runs the Heartful Art Studio up there in Big Rapids, Michigan. You can find her Facebook page. You can find her in many places. She's also a very spiritual woman in that she honors her soul's path, the path of her soul, the path of other souls. She understands that everything is alive by the grace of everything that Creator creates. I would venture to say that if you're listening to the show, that's true for you. And it creates a greater opportunity for you during the entry into the holy days to connect with. When was the last time you had a little visit with your soul? Sat down and had a little tete-a-tete, right, with your own higher self. I call upon my soul. I call upon the light of my soul. I'd like to connect with the light of my soul, the infinite intelligence that is me connected to the Creator of all things. I call to you. When was the last time that you did something sort of like that? I'd like to connect to all soul parts of myself that I've given away to others, freely, or those that were taken from me. Any fragments of myself that I gave away or were taken away, I call those back to me. In sitting with our experiences, we come to realize those parts that sometimes were taken away, were given away. Where did they go? Where are they? What happens to those that we love who have gone home? Well, in my mind, in my experience, they're working their way back to the realm of the ancestors. The ancestors, the ancestral light of all things. And this time of the year when we really think, we do think about them during maybe their birthday or what have you. But this time of the year in particular, my cousin Corey is saying, I had the most amazing dream the first night home after our visit. Corey came to visit with me here in Michigan a couple of weeks ago. I had the most amazing dream the first night home after our visit with my fiancé who passed 34 years ago. It was as if he were here with me. Yes. Yes. That's beautiful, Corey, and thank you for sharing that. Catherine Lady Hawk Harrison down there in Texas says, I had a cardinal and a single goose fly by my window and call right as the sun was rising. That's what I love about my friends and family. They understand that there's something magnificent in that moment, heralding the sunrise. In our gratitude in those moments, our veil, our aura, thins. Gratitude is one of the most amazing veil thinners there ever was created. Gratitude. It's a high vibration gratitude. I was talking a couple of weeks ago at a class I was teaching at the School of Sacred Studies about our home being a place where the veil is thin. Well, if you come into my home, there are lots of photographs of family, of friends, all over my home. But there are no photos of family members that I do not like. There are no photos of friends that are crabby, of low vibration, right? I really don't have any friends that are like that anymore. I've given all of them up. But in my home, even the photographs of the people in my life, past and present, are those people that I love most dearly, and those that I've had an opportunity to have a great photo taken with, right? I'm not going to have an ugly photograph of someone up, right? One of those photographs, because that also brings a vibration, a low vibration, to look at a photograph and think, ugh. And I don't feel guilty about not having photographs of everybody, because everybody in my life, family life, you all can relate to this, does not bring a good feeling or a good vibration. They do not thin the veil. Only photographs of those that I love and that I cherish grace the bookshelves and the walls of my home, because it brings a wonderful, joyful vibration to look at their faces. It makes me smile. It brings beautiful memories. It draws them nearer to me, particularly at this time of the year. If you celebrate the Day of the Dead, you don't have to celebrate those that were unloving in your life. And if you don't celebrate any of those, you don't have to have a photograph of someone in your life who was unloving, but you are expected to have their photograph in your home. I give you permission to not have their photograph staring at you, their visage, cluttering up the energy in your home, because I know you walk by that photograph and every time you think, ugh. Ugh. Right. Unless you have it there because you're working on something energetically with them. Have a great day, Lady Hawk. Nikki's laughing. Yeah, Corey's laughing. Right? I give you permission. If you have a crabby old aunt and you have her photograph on the wall, you get to take that down. Angie is saying, yes, I talk to Mom's picture often. Well, you, Angie, have one of the most amazing moms ever, Dolly. One of my favorite human beings in the world. I miss visits with your mom. Yeah, I have photograph. I'm here in my office space, and I have a photograph of both of my dads, the Sarge and Billy King, right behind me. Right behind me. As an adopted person, my cousin Corey sent me beautiful photographs of my biological mother. And I have them out in my home, and I've moved them around my home because I want to be familiar with them in all of the spaces of my home. So I can see her face. I had them here in my office for a while, so I could see her face while I'm working. Now I have her in the dining room and in the library and the formal living room. And when I look, I've become familiar with her face. And the energy for me is now joyful. I've worked past looking at her face and feeling sad. Now when I look at her face, it's joyful. So I did have those photographs, and it did take me a moment to work through the sadness of not knowing her, of not being able to hug her or talk to her. And I worked through those, just as Angie is saying, by looking at her photograph and allowing that image and that imprint of her, she did give birth to me after all, to bubble up and to allow that to flow. And now when I look at her photograph, I smile. And I can begin to see me in her now. During this magnificent time of autumn, one of the greatest joys has happened to me. I've become a grandmother. My grandson was born in September while Corey was here. I don't think that there's a coincidence in that. Easton Val Robbins was born at 1 pound, 13 ounces. He is a Libra, just like my biological father, Billy King, is a Libra. And Easton is in the NICU the neonatal ICU department at St. Mary's Hospital in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yesterday, he gained a whole ounce past his birth weight, and so he weighs 1 pound 14 ounces now. And that's thanks to the prayers of friends and family who are holding him in the light. Right now is the roughest time for him. These past few days are troublesome for him, so if you could send him some love and some light, Easton Robbins, there at St. Mary's NICU, I would greatly appreciate that. People have asked, well, why haven't you put his photograph on Facebook? Well, in the Native American tradition, we don't do that. There's power in photographs. This is part of the veil. Photograph carries an image, and in that image, there is an energy. For me, you won't see me placing on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or any other place a photograph of somebody who is ill, somebody who is dying, or somebody who is in a weakened state. It's not going to happen. And social media really isn't the place for those things to happen. That's in my mind. But in the Native American tradition, that is something that just is not done. And my sister Barbara had to remind some of our nieces this past week or so of that tradition. Because of the energy of a photograph, be careful of what you're posting on social media, everyone. There is an energy about a photo. And I know this might be shocking, not everybody on social media has your best interest at heart or the best interest of those you love. The veil is also thin when it comes to malfeasance, just as it is to joy. Be mindful of the veil. If looking at a photograph of someone that you love brings up emotion, that emotion creates an energy. No different than looking at a photograph of someone that you dislike, that you despise. It brings up an emotion. It brings up an energy. And those energies pass through the veil of the unseen, the subtle realm. I'm certainly not going to subject my grandson to anybody's anything, right? And so I waited to talk about it here on my radio show. And I thank you for the prayers for Easton. He needs them right now, right? This week and next week are the rockiest times for a 28-week born baby. The veil is a subtle space. It's that space where, and through which we send love to one another. When we say, I'm sending love, I'm sending a warm hug. Well, where are you sending it? What are you sending it through? When we're talking, right, on an old-fashioned telephone, it was through that telephone wire. I still have one of those in my kitchen. An old telephone with the cord, the whole shooting match. I love it. I love looking at it. It's an antique by now. We used to send it through that cord and through telephone wires. But where do we send our prayers? What do we send it through? Well, we send it through that subtle energy that surrounds each and every one of us. Everything, that invisible energy around us is alive. It's a conduit. It contains memories, hopes, dreams. It's malleable. And it also conducts energy. When we're sending Reiki, when we're sending up a prayer, when a prayer is rising, well, what's it rising through? It's rising through the subtle energies. And we have a choice of what we send. Are we sending positivity through the veil, hope through the veil, love through the veil, healing through the veil, vengeance through the veil? Are we gaslighting through the veil? What are we doing with that? We are responsible for the way in which we operate on this side of the veil and work in tandem with the other side of the veil. We are responsible for that, and we don't have control over what others do. Sacred space. The thinning of the veil is also created when we create an altar. That's right, Nikki. Every ounce helps. Exactly, Katie. He needs all positive response from all of us who are sending thoughts and prayers. And thank you, Corey. She's saying, I pray for my baby cousin every day. He receives those on the conduit of, right, the subtle body that encases everything here on Grandmother Earth. Some people call it the heart and mind of God. Some people call it the energy of the Great Spirit. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. Elise was talking to me about the prayers. And I said, you're on every prayer line all across the United States, Europe, various places all around. And she said, and aren't I lucky, Mom? I'm so lucky, Mom. Yeah. The thinning of the veil is a magnificent thing. It's an opportunity for Spirit to draw nearer and for us to clear a pathway for Spirit to draw nearer. And part of that is acknowledging the miracles as they happen, being grateful for them. As Elise's medical team was gathering, I was there in the hospital room with her. And the surgeon walked in, the anesthesiologist walked in, her favorite nurse walked in, Nurse Courtney. The other maternal fetal nurses all came in, and I noticed that she had an all-women team, a team of women. And she was very emotional at that time because it's been a very rough pregnancy for her. And I went over and I looked at all of the women in the room, and I looked at Elise and I said, and look, Elise, the circle of women has you. They've got you. And she looked at me and she couldn't speak. And the nurses and the anesthesiologist and the surgeon, they all looked at me like, oh my goodness, this is a circle of women. And yes, Elise, we've got you. Baby, we've got you. And in that moment, the Ave Maria began playing on her hospital room television. It was a commercial, the Ave Maria. And I said, and look to boot. The mother of all is now in the room. And Nurse Courtney did her little happy dance and she said, it's perfect. This is perfection. And the surgeon looked at everyone and said, it's time. And off they went into the surgical suite across the room. And as my son-in-law and my daughter and my grandson went into surgery with their circle of women, overlighted by the Blessed Mother, the Goddess, I sat and held energy in their room. I held the light. The veil was being drawn down so that my grandson could be born and occupy his physical body. The veil was being drawn down, and I was going to use every opportunity to give gratitude, to create a space. Thank you for the magnificent team that has assembled to welcome my grandson, to welcome his spirit into his body fully. Thank you for guiding and overlighting all of the medical team. Every single person who works in this hospital, thank you for them. Mikael, Uriel, Gavriel, Raphael, Chamuel, winds of the north, of the east, of the south, and the west, star nations, Wakanwashte, good and loving spirits, Grandmother Earth Unchi, thank you for this day. Thank you for this experience. That's simple. Draws down the veil, parts the mist, creates a clear path And we all have our own way of doing that if we choose to do that. The veil is a vibration. The vibration we hold on this side, the veils that we carry on this side, dictate our experience with what lies on the other side of those octaves. The beginning of the holy days, beginning with Samhain, in the time of the darkening. There are many holy days, of course, but you know what I'm talking about. Be mindful of the veils that shroud you, the veils perhaps that shroud a clear energy in your home, in your workspace. Be mindful who you're drawing to you, and be grateful for those that you love who come near, including the saints, your totem allies, your guardian angels, your soul and your higher self, and those perhaps that you never met, but who are part of the blood of your blood and the bones of your bones, that are coming to share their wisdom. The best stories are always told in the evening around a fire. Why? At the time of betwixt and between, when the evening is dark. The best stories are told because that's what are given from the old ones, from the oral traditions, in the evening, around the hearth, when we can listen more closely to those we love who have gone on before, and perhaps we're even listening to ourselves in our ancestral body, right? With that, everyone, have a beautiful day. Welcome to the time of the drawing near, of the quickening, the time of the ancestors. And thank you for your prayers for Easton, for my grandson, and of course for my daughter and her husband, as they learn to walk this new path. Blessings be, everybody. Have an amazing day, and don't forget to shine your light.